Hey everybody, welcome back to Out of the Ordinary with Jay, and today I'm with
David Johnson,
and Dave. How old are you?
55.
Okay, and what do you do for a living, or what's your background?
Forensic scientist.
What does that mean?
Do DNA testing on crime scene samples.
Oh wow, so does that have to do with like what's your degree in, like chemistry or something, or?
I have a degree in chemistry and a degree in microbiology.
Okay, well then this ought to be an interesting conversation. I think I picked the right guy. So recently I was watching another video on YouTube with a pretty famous psychologist named Donald Hoffman, and he has a theory called the interface theory of perception, which basically says humans, our senses evolved to show us a user interface best suited for survival, not the truth of reality itself. Basically, he argues that we evolved only to see and sense that which helps us to survive and reproduce. He basically posits that seeing the true reality would likely kill us. He believes this with 100% certainty. So I guess I'll start off with this question. It's sort of like a reality versus perception conversation, but if our senses evolved purely for survival, not the truth, what do you think reality actually looks like beyond our sensory interface?
What it actually looks like,
Crazy question.
yeah.
How could one know?
I mean, I know that there's millions and millions of things out there that happen that our brain ignores because it's not relevant to, like you said, our survival or what we need to process to keep going. So it ignores it, so we don't even have an idea that things are happening.
Yeah, to that concept, he basically states that because we're metabolic beings and we burn calories and stuff, that anything inefficient we ignore. Correct. Because we're basically built to try to survive, and also then there's just inherent things that we don't have, like we can't see UV rays, we can't see X-rays, we can't there's all kinds of things that other animals and things can do, but yeah, how would we even begin to imagine something we've never directly perceived anyways?
Right.
Like is there anything in, I don't know how to answer this either, but is there anything in physics or philosophy that you think hints at that deeper reality?
I mean, just one off the top of the head, that you can't destroy energy; you can only convert it to one form or another, and
right.
I think that's always been true. And then you go into the talk about what is a soul, and it's like is a soul just us? And that is our energy, and once this vessel dies, the soul continues because it's just our energy that goes somewhere else and is now released.
Right.
So, but that's not obviously something you can perceive or see with your eyes or anything like that. So if as human beings, if we saw that, if when someone died you actually saw their spirit leaving their body, would that as a people, would that maybe make us have less fear of death?
Certainly would, I would think. But they have but yeah, I agree with you. There's also just to boil it down to real basic science, going way back when there was either atoms or void. That's it. Something or nothing, right? And so it's it does get weird in terms of I don't know if there, I mean, basically you could say, I don't know about physics, but in philosophy, there's almost every philosophy could basically fill this sort of reality gap. I mean, if you believed, whatever you believed, right? In other words,
right.
Anyway, the next sort of conscious I have here written down is consciousness as primary. Do you believe consciousness is a product of the brain, or is it the fundamental stuff reality is made of? I'm sure I know what that question means, but
I think consciousness actually is part of your brain, but I also think it's part of, I don't know if you want to call it your energy, your soul, or whatever, but I think consciousness kind of rules your reality. Now, I mean, we can go into whether or not, like people say now, oh, I manifested that happened.
yeah,
Whether that's true or not, don't know.
right.
But when you are looking at your own reality, you are trying to put things together so that your brain can perceive them. And an example of that is I was watching some guy who was talking about people who have dreams, and like how he thinks that when we have dreams we can let go and we can perceive a lot more things than we can when we're awake. So like he's saying where there's so much stuff
maybe some of the signals are out of the way, so you're able to do whatever
right.
you do.
So he's saying, you may have had a dream of, I don't know, a fish eating a lion,
right?
And you wake up and you're like, what the hell was that about? And he
right.
said that was probably just the way your brain interpreted something that you dreamt about that you've never seen before or never experienced before.
Oh, right, trying to give you some sort of imaging. That's super interesting. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the perception reality thing, there is that saying, perception is reality, and which is true. And I think what we're talking about for sure, at least in the way that I'm viewing this, is like, yeah, but how much are we perceiving? Not very much, right?
Right.
So if consciousness, so would you say consciousness can exist on its own without matter and energy, or no?
100%.
So what would it be then? Well, I guess that's a totally separate conversation. Like if it's not matter or energy, what is it?
Well, I mean, it is energy.
Okay.
But it's just an energy that doesn't need a physical body to exist.
It's funny, this is something that scientists and theologians and everything have been trying to dissect for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And the next question is, how would we test either view in a scientific way? Good luck, they've always been trying it. I mean,
well, they've tried it, and that's kind of, if you read some of the science books, and they go back to, you can't just, create or destroy energy.
Right.
When the body dies, they've tried to figure out, okay, what happens to all that energy, those electrical impulses, all that stuff. Like, they've tried to measure where that goes. Like, they've tried to measure, does the air around the person heat up because now that energy was electrical impulses in your brain now go out as heat, or what does it go as? And they haven't been able to figure out a form of energy that when you pass away, that energy goes to. So some will argue, well, it's just an energy form we haven't figured out yet, or we just haven't found it yet. Another one would say, well, that's your soul. Your soul leaves, and we haven't figured out how to measure that yet.
Right. And I was just thinking, like, we definitely have, I'm going to phrase it in this way, sort of limits on our human interface. Like, as an example, we know bats use sonar, right? We know that other animals do other things. They sense things through, heat, or, just very different. Sure. Dogs have much better, they can smell 1,000 times better than we can, or whatever. But, like, there are limits of our human interface. Like, what's one example where you think our perceptual blind spots most distort our understanding of the world? Do you have any idea on that? It's a tough question.
I think the problem is, which I think has gotten better as over the ages, is everyone looking at themselves as an individual and not as a collective part of a society.
Or even a part of the universe.
Right.
Just part of matter
in
general.
Yeah. I think when early on, when we were all in little villages, and you needed everyone in the village to do a certain task for the village to survive.
Right.
I think there was a lot more togetherness. And I think as our technology has grown, and we've all, we can all live on our own because we have air conditioning, we can go to the grocery store and just buy food, we can have food.
Water, indoor plumbing, all of that, yeah.
And I think we've all become individuals and seen ourselves as we're individuals, we're separate from everyone else, where I don't know that that's really...
not a cog in the machine, the whole machine.
Right.
Interesting. That's an interesting concept.
I mean, not to be shitty, but look at the generation coming up. Me.
Oh, are you looking at me directly?
No.
Because I'm a big me guy too.
No, but I mean, it seems like every generation has gotten more of, I'm an individual, I deserve this, I deserve that.
I wonder if that's part of evolution too, though. The farther you get along the chain, the easier, the more civilized the thing comes. Maybe it just becomes that way, right? It seems like maybe over time that's just sort of a natural consequence. Now, one of the things I was thinking of, and this is not a good example, it's only one I could think of though, when it says, what's one example you think our perceptual blind spots most distort our understanding of the world? For me, that's just so big of a question because I don't even know how to answer it, because there's so many things I know that I'm not seeing.
Yeah.
I just am clueless about,
Sure.
both because of my intellect, maybe like my IQ's not, I'm not Einstein. I can't, smell like a dog. I can't see like a hawk, right? So I know I'm missing a lot of things. But I was thinking of my own perceptual blind spot, which is thinking that my fellow human beings are all taking in information, assembling it, and digesting it, and understanding it in the same way that I do. And I know that's not the case. Right? Do you know what I mean? Like I might see one thing one way and they could clearly see it another way. Even a simple object or an idea can be totally very, very much different. And I think a lot of us make that mistake in terms of, you know what I mean?
I think it's exactly the opposite. I think you could probably have twins that were probably raised the same way, and later on in life you show them the same stimuli, and I bet they process it differently.
Yeah, totally. Do you think that these blind spots that we have as humans are accidental or part of sort of evolution's design, for lack of a better term? Because I would just, if I may interrupt, I would think that the argument would be that this guy might say would be that, no, it's by design. I watched this whole video. He would say it's by design because basically anything that uses up extra energy that it shouldn't, that isn't geared towards immediate survival and reproduction, is not worth it. And so I think he would say it's purposeful.
Yeah, I mean, first thing you said when I thought of is going back to the movie Jurassic Park. Mm-hmm. When they're talking about, well, you didn't, all you did was read what everyone else did, and then you took the next step. You didn't actually learn the discipline to get to this point. And so I think it is by design. I don't think you can't. Can you imagine going to caveman time and sitting an iPhone down in front of them and going, there you go? Like they'd probably try to eat it.
Yeah, or kill you, or worship you, or something.
So as a society, I think you have to go through those phases to get where you are, and have that discipline and learn those lessons. Yeah.
How do you how can we work around these blind spots? I don't even know if is it possible. Like I don't think maybe someday we might have the capability, like we might evolve enough, or AI or VR could help us to look outside of otherwise we're just constrained as what we are. I can't, okay, now I want to see way better, or okay, now I want to look at ultraviolet rays, or okay, I want to be able to hear like sonar. That's not going to happen without a lot of assistance.
Yeah, there's obviously physical limitations to what we're going to be able to do, but I almost don't wonder if the more people become conscious and understand consciousness, and that expands, if that won't help on a lot of things of, hey, you know what, I am part of a collection of people. I am, I am part of this. People do perceive this differently. I wonder what I can learn from them, instead of, everyone now, it's like, no, this is my opinion and that's your opinion, and we're at odds of this.
Right.
And we're just going to keep it that way.
It is funny because people actually do believe both. Like people do believe in their own sort of individual, whatever, I'm the man and blah, 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 blah. But they also do, I think people do understand sort of like the butterfly effect, like where a little something here happens and then it sets a chain of events. I think people are kind of aware of that.
Yeah.
I just don't think they give it as much weight as they could. You
know
what I mean?
I think that's hard to sit down and fathom at some, at some point. And
it's also not at least today, it's not quantifiable. You don't know all the effects you've had, all the ripple effects you've had by, eating at this one restaurant, or saying a nice thing or a rude thing to a person. You don't know, we can't have a way to track all that. It would be overwhelming anyways.
Yeah, and we're taught as a society to react, not necessarily to think,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at everything now. Like if you put anything, on YouTube or something like that that's too long, people won't watch it.
Yeah. So stay watching it. It's important. Yeah, and subscribe and thumbs up and all that good stuff. So yeah, you're right. And there's a follow up to that I'll get to. I'm going to get it's farther down in the questions here. But if evolution favors survival over truth, why do you think, this is kind of philosophical, but why do you think humans seek truth at all?
Well, I think it's the next step, right? I think you have to, as a being, as a single-celled organism or whatever, like your first instinct is going to be how can I survive?
Right.
Then how can I propagate my species? And then, but I think you get to a point where you understand that, okay, we're comfortable now, we're probably going to survive. How do we evolve from this and actually look for truth and figure out what's really going on here? And I think that's the path we're coming to.
Right, it's just a logical, if I'm no longer worried about, food, I can just go to the grocery store. If I'm not worried about being killed by some animals and I've got time to sit and think. I think that's part of it. I also think maybe that possibly driving for the truth could be another additional survival strategy. In other words, the more I know, the more likely I am still to survive, and it could still be the same programming.
Yeah.
Do you follow me?
Yeah. And I've had that, I don't know if it's a theory or thought too, but that, when you, as a society, the more people that start to look for the truth, maybe you stop wanting to kill each other.
Right.
And, because right now that's probably our biggest thing is,
yeah.
Are we all going to just go to war and end up?
What's interesting about that made me think is how truth-seeking might actually hurt survival. Not the seeking part, but the identifying with it before you've actually gotten all of the evidence. As an example, if I ascribe to a certain way of thinking and I say it's the truth and you're the opposite of that, or you're not in line with that, now all of a sudden we go to war. In other words, you know what I mean? So like I can see how truth-seeking is good, but maybe truth acceptance can be bad in some circumstances, because you have so many people that are like, I'm going to speak my truth. This is my truth, and everybody has their own truth, right?
Yeah.
And very often they're in conflict with somebody else's.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, anyway.
But I think that's where we're at now. I think we've gotten some truths, and some people want to believe, and some people don't want to believe. But yeah, I understand. It's like it's going to be this multi-tiered thing where, I think aliens today could land in Japan, and all of a sudden, Japan has unusable energy and food. They can grow food on concrete and all this other stuff, and I bet it would be on our news. I bet half the U.S. wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And
you'd hit it with fake news immediately. I mean, that would be the thing, and unfortunately, now it's all too difficult to tell. There's such a glut of information out there. If everybody is holding their own truth or has their own idea of the truth, then what is it anymore?
Right.
That does create a problem for sure. That'd be a good separate interview for sure. I was thinking, we were talking about how us humans perceive things. Like, how do you imagine reality might appear to a different species, say a bat or an octopus or AI, whose senses evolved quite differently? You know what I mean? What do you say about that? I'm not saying you have to identify as a bat, octopus, or an AI, but
well, that's a huge question.
Yeah, I know, but
I guess I will ask you, in your questioning, do bats have a consciousness? Do they know they exist?
It's hard to say. I can't say because I don't know. I would think maybe most semi-advanced mammals do, so I'm inclined to think so. Okay. But that's just my own throwing it out there. But what I would say that's interesting about the question, if we just use the bat as an example, okay, the bat has never seen anything. It uses echolocation. It makes a sound, it hears it, and that's how it knows where things are. So it has, at least to my mind, unless that echolocation is doing something pretty fancy, which maybe it is, it definitely wouldn't see colors in the way that we see colors. It wouldn't, not RGB or whatever what I mean? Like, so who knows how it would even possibly view the world, right? And take an octopus, right? An octopus, again, that one, even forget the senses and stuff, even if it had the same senses as us, it'd be like someone coming from Atlantis and walking on land for the first time. They'd be like, what is it? A mountain, a cloud, lightning? What is all this stuff? right? And so I think our reality to them might very well appear like a sci-fi movie or unreality. It would be so weird, in the same way that if I had to just, now all of a sudden I'm a bat,
Right.
and I know what I know about this, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I knew nothing. This is the way the world really is, right? I mean, I don't know. So I don't know if what do you think?
I think that's, I mean, I think you can try to understand what a bat perceives thing is, you know, talking to someone who's been blind from birth. I think maybe you can get a glimpse into it.
There you go.
I still don't think you get a lot of what they perceive because
they don't have the sonar.
And I wonder if they even perceive us as anything special, because we mostly live inside. So if we're outside and their sonar hits us, they're like, oh, it's another mammal, odd looking one, whatever, and they just fly off and don't think two more seconds about what it even was.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I don't know. And I don't want to approach the AI thing because I feel like that would just be a whole nother topic.
It's hard to say that bats don't care about us, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. They might care about Batman. But yeah, it's like I can imagine the next question is, could two species live in two totally different realities and never know it? I would say yeah. Absolutely. I would think, in fact, I would expand that and say that it's possible that every person is living their own reality. And, you know, to the extent we have commonality, I mean, you know, like I'm looking outside, I see that nice swimming pool, right? You see the nice swimming pool, okay, whatever. But maybe there's a few things I see that you don't see, and maybe vice versa, you know, and we're just not gonna see it. So I don't know. If we could swap sensory systems with another species, what do you think would surprise us the most?
No.
You can use whatever animal you want.
I think, I mean, I don't know if this would be the best, but going back to bats, I mean, when you talk to people who have been blind their whole life, how heightened their other senses are is remarkable. So, you know, again, is that an evolutionary thing, or is that just another, like you're saying, your body trying to figure out how to survive in a chaotic environment?
That's what it's trying to do. It's just, yeah, I mean, they're both, it's all about survival, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I would think if I swap sensory systems with them now, I would probably, I'm guessing in the case of a bat or most other things, I would think two things. Are like, whoa, I sure am missing out on a lot of the old stuff I used to perceive, and that sucks. But this new stuff that I am understanding is wild, and I had no idea. This is just crazy, different way to be. I don't know, if obviously can't do it, so I really don't. I don't know how to answer that question. It's too out there for me.
I mean, how crazy it would be if you could breathe underwater and you weren't crushed by super high pressure, and you could go to the ocean floor and actually see what the hell's down there. Right.
Yeah. Well, there's a certain submersible company I would not recommend going with. Definitely not to go look at the Titanic. Shared illusions. It says, do you think our shared reality is just overlapping illusions?
Well, if you go back to everyone has their own reality, I'd say that we've agreed to play a part in each other's reality, and they are overlapping at that juncture.
Right.
But once you go that way and I go this way, our realities separate.
But like, we both can see that that's a pool right there.
Right.
And if we both were to walk into it, we're both going to get wet.
But yeah,
like,
we're both.
You know what I mean? Like, so like, I mean, see, I think there is, I don't know. This is what I think. I think there is definitely a base reality out there, whatever the matter is and whatever it's composed of. Mm-hmm. As to its actual color, its actual scent, its actual noises, that I think is up for perception. Okay. You know what I mean? So I think there is something out there, and then based on the species that you are, you know, what senses you have, maybe culturally, even how you perceive things, that's how you're viewing them. You know, like as an example, we see that as a pool. Some other culture might see it as just a lake, or, you know, something else altogether. I don't even know. Right. Anyway, and that's the other thing too. How do we even know if our overlap is even accurate? Like if we're both looking at that thing, it's blue, right? You have blue, dark blue tile.
Well, then it goes to, well, yeah, but that's just what everyone's told me is blue. It could look red to you. Everyone's just told you
No, it's blue. I know what red looks like. Dang it. Don't screw with my. We're gonna leave with a headache, or leave our viewers with a headache. Either way, there's gonna be a headache. Could two people have radically different perceptions and still function together?
Absolutely.
I think we do it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what it boils down to is kind of what I was talking about a minute ago. Is you take baseline common denominator things that people mostly see in the same way, and you build from there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's, yeah.
Well, and then I think we've talked about this before. It's like, let's just talk about people, Chinese people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the news and our government wants us to hate them, but I guarantee if you and I went over and we sat for 2 days with a family from China, I bet we'd all get along just great.
100%.
We wouldn't hate each other.
No, of course not. And also the way that we you know, oh, they're low tech and this and that and whatever. I've watched enough YouTube videos and seen some stuff out there to know that they might be leading the way in terms of technology. I mean, they are definitely up there in terms of you know, high-speed trains and you know the way that their manufacturing processes and you know technology is pretty.
We're fed information they want us to know, and not actually probably the truth.
Right. Which by the way helps to shape our reality. Right. Like the volume of people that I know that would think that you know, China bad. Right. Just China bad without giving is almost everybody. Right.
Sure.
Of course, it's all we've been drilled into.
We've been fed.
Yeah. Do you think that technologies like virtual reality or artificial intelligence or brain-computer interfaces, like you know, like a Neuralink, will help us see more of reality, or will they just create new illusions?
Well,
it's tough.
Would you say that an illusion is still part of reality?
Wow, I don't know. That was deep.
Because I could say if we're both projecting this same illusion that we see a pool, you know, if it is an illusion, is it
real?
Well, or I mean, I would argue, well, it is real because you're perceiving it.
Right.
So if you're perceiving something that you call, you know, a projection or whatever, then okay, well, I'm still perceiving it, so I'm going to say that it's real, whether.
Right. Yeah, I think my answer to that would be if AI or VR could help us see more of reality, more of the truth, more of the real world. I think it's possible, but it's going to be a big lift, because in my view, it's going to have to be AI doing its thing on its own without our help, because we're already the limiting factor.
Right.
Combined with, it's going to have to invent new technology, something we put on our eyes or put in our ears or whatever, to allow us to see more. You know, I'm imagining somebody along sometimes says, hey, I want to go back to the bat thing. I want to be able to hear like a bat, right? And then that gets, and then you can put something on and then, oh, okay. You know what I mean? I mean, that could be something like that. So I think it's possible.
I'll take it a little further. I'm like, what if at some point our DNA actually does, I mean, because like we've said, you know, before, like 98% of your DNA is what's called junk DNA. It doesn't code for anything.
Oh, wow.
But if we go by the same philosophy he's saying, where, well, that wouldn't make sense, because for survival reasons, it's there for a reason.
Right.
So maybe there's a point of consciousness where that DNA turns on and actually allows us to see more without the help of other things.
I mean, no matter what the vehicle is, we're talking about transcending current human capability, for sure. Do you think that tech could ever reveal something that evolution has actively hidden from us?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it already has.
Yeah.
Like, I think technology, that's what technology does, right? Like, it is over time already revealed things that we didn't know, like we didn't know atoms for a long time, right? We didn't know what atomic theory was, right? We didn't know that there were all these planets out in the Milky Way galaxy. We didn't know there were multiple galaxies, right? So I think the more our knowledge grows, I think that's true. So I think that's an easy question to answer.
Well, that would, you know, like, we're always, you know, evolution-wise, we're always looking for that missing link. Like what was between when we went from caveman to Homo sapien? Because we made a huge genetic leap that if you follow DNA and timelines before and DNA and timelines past that, we've never really made that kind of a genetic leap before. So what was it that happened? Was there a crisis on Earth that basically made us survival mode and all this stuff turned on and we
Magic
became
mushrooms.
smarter? Magic mushrooms.
Martians.
They
Who
found
knows?
marijuana.
I mean, who knows, really? Yeah, and that's the other thing, too. If, like, we had this sort of perception that AI or VR gave us, again, I don't know, it says, how we even know what we're seeing is truer than before. Like, I mean, it just gets so super
I
challenging.
didn't know what you're seeing now is true.
I know,
You could
it's
be,
just wild.
you could be sitting somewhere with VR goggles on right now.
I definitely could. You know, I've thought about that before. Like, even in this interview, I had this in another interview somewhere I mentioned, but oh, it was a dream I had that I like woke myself up because it scared the crap out of me. But like, I was in my mind, in my dream, I was in a coma in a hospital, and I was thinking that this was happening. And certainly that could be a real thing right now. Right? Yeah. Anyway, you could not be real. It could just be in my imagination.
Yeah.
Feels real.
I appreciate for you thinking me up, but
yeah, it feels real to me. Consciousness beyond the body. If our senses are just an interface, which I think they are, could consciousness exist without the body?
yes.
How do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Again, go back to the energy form. It's an energy form that I don't think we've discovered what it is. But I mean, I don't think it needs this vessel to still understand who it is.
Oh wow. See, I'm feeling you. That's a pretty big concept you're throwing out there in case you guys missed it. But like, see, I think I'd like to think that way, but I think more of the way that I think is that, like, let's call it, my body is the body of a car. My brain is the engine. If I run out of gas, the engine stops. That's a wrap. No car, no move, no nothing. You know what I mean? So for me, that's sometimes the way that I don't know how I think anymore, honestly. It's getting so confusing. But like, consciousness existing without a body seems, I get the energy part of it, right? The energy is going to go somewhere. The atoms are going to splatter and rearrange and go somewhere else because, you know, that's just, you know, even if it's just tree food or something.
Sure.
But like, saying the assembled consciousness goes elsewhere, I mean, there's a lot of schools of thought, philosophy, faiths that think that for sure. You know, and this whole argument gives space for that. You know what I mean? Saying that, like, we can only perceive so much. So it is interesting.
Right. I mean, I guess it's a philosophy, and I guess the opposite could be true. But to me, it's just like, okay, then what would the point of life even existing be if it just didn't continue to evolve?
Right. Well, some would argue there is no point. It's just an accident. And it's absurd.
No.
You know what I mean? I mean, some would argue that.
Yeah, because lightning hit the puddle, right?
Yeah. There are people that will just say, like, the whole life is absurd, so just go live your life. But so how do you think if consciousness did exist without the body, right? How do you think it would perceive reality without the human senses? There's no eyes, no touch, no smell. How might it? What might that be like? It's a really weird question. I know we can't really answer this. But
I guess I don't know if you've ever had a dream and you've been in the dream and you knew someone was there, let's say like a grandmother or a friend or something like that, but it wasn't that you saw them, but you perceived that they were there. Like you had a feeling that they were there.
yeah, like so much of a feeling to where you could get the chills or whatever, something.
Yeah.
More than a notion.
And I think that's probably maybe a step closer to like, hey, yeah, if you didn't have the ability to see, to hear, or sense, but that doesn't mean that you don't have other factors that can help you,
Sixth sense.
probably even better, help you perceive a certain energy or something like that. Just
Do you think that's what like near-death experiences or mystical states kind of hint at? Is something like that?
I mean, everyone's going to say, oh, that's just your brain playing tricks on each other, on itself, or
Could be.
or people are like, what about people who are brain dead and then they came back? It's like, well, it's that snap second when they came back that their brain, sure, could be, but I think being that a lot of them see and feel and talk about the same experiences, I guess would tell me more that that's real, because if everything we're talking about now, where all of our perceptions are different, I wouldn't expect all of their brains to do the exact same thing.
Okay, I would agree with you except for one thing. There is I cannot remember the psychological phenomena that this is called, but it is, I can't remember the name of it, but it is a thing that happens where basically once something makes its way into the public sphere, it takes on a life of its own. As an example, in the 1990s, almost everybody ended up with carpal tunnel syndrome from typing, right? It became this thing.
Okay.
The moment I got carpal tunnel, everybody's got carpal tunnel. Well, now nobody really talks about it anymore, right? And then it's like this there's always one new thing that everybody like has, right? And so there is that sort of, I forget what they call that, where it makes its way into the public sphere and then it just embeds itself. It's kind of, that's its own weird phenomenon, but anyway.
And I guess, not to stop, but
yeah.
But you also hear these stories, and they've documented a bunch of them, where a little kid all of a sudden knows how to play the piano, or a little kid can. What was it? There was one in Russia where this little kid remembered a past life and where he died, where his body's buried, and he took police there to the spot. He showed them, and there was a body buried there. How would a 5-year-old?
Demonic possession.
Is that it?
No, I have no idea.
So you believe in that?
Sounds freaky to me, though.
Okay, if you believe in demonic possession.
No, I don't.
Then,
To be
that's
clear,
a spirit.
I don't believe in it, but that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
No. Are we in agreement then that we are not seeing objective, true reality?
No. Yeah, we're in agreement.
We're in agreement with that. We're definitely not.
Yeah.
Are we also in agreement that what we're seeing is based on the senses that evolution provided to us, and that it's meant for survival and reproduction? And that's
we're seeing just enough for us to survive.
Right, right, and no more, because it would burn extra calories needlessly,
right,
and it doesn't help with the survival and
right,
reproduction. Okay, I agree with that. So if we're accepting that we never see objective reality, mm-hmm, how should that change the way we live, decide, treat others? Any ideas? You kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I think that instead of everyone being at odds with each other, like, and I think, again, the problem is we're all so reactionary. Mm-hmm. Like we're within a second we've made.
What do you mean?
We've made it.
Just kidding.
We've made a judgment, and I think if in a culture you're allowed to sit there and think about something someone has said before you respond, and actually think about, hey, would there be a scenario of me growing up or going through something where I would believe that is true? And if you could conceive a scenario where you did that,
world's a better place.
Then maybe you wouldn't be so, no, you're wrong, how could that ever be? It's like, well, they were thinking this because you just conceived a scenario in 5 seconds of how you could believe that.
I think what you're describing is critical thinking, which I love. There's two angles of that, though, that are difficult. One is that it takes work to critically think. You have to do the math. You have to take your time. You have to be patient, right? Yeah. You have to use your reasoning and be empathetic. And it takes a lot of work to critically think. And then also, I just don't know that we place a big enough value on that. Just society is not really rewarding so much critical thinking.
Well, and
maybe it is.
Like you've brought up before, it's lizard brain versus regular thinking, right? Because what your body wants you to do is just react and reserve the calories for anything else that's
survive and reproduce.
It takes an actual leap and an actual process on your part to actually, okay, I'm actually going to think about this, because your body doesn't want to think about it. Your body's like, let's move on to the next thing.
Right. To your point, I think it would make us more humble in our own beliefs and others' beliefs.
Yeah.
I definitely could see that, because Yeah, and there's probably is a survival mechanism in us that no, I'm right, which is helping with the critical think, which is against the critical thinking. In other words, like like I need to be right as part of us. It's interesting. I don't know.
Well, and they not they, I don't know who they is, but like I've heard them talk on, online and stuff, like people who are critical thinkers, and they talk about people who are, who are bullies or who try to, be above other people, and what they're saying is like this person actually feels like they don't have any power at all.
Right.
That's the reason they're doing this, because if you actually knew you had power and knew that you had all this stuff, you wouldn't be doing this to people, because what would you be afraid of?
Right.
And it kind of goes back to the thing where when someone has this opinion and they're trying so hard to get everybody around them to believe their opinion, well, that person actually doesn't
believe it themselves.
Right. What they're trying to do is they're trying to get the group to
buy
believe
in,
it so that they can feel better about what they believe.
Yeah, methinks thou dost protest too much.
Yeah.
I believe is the way that it goes. Yes, for sure. No, I do think that, and the other thing is too is about our objective reality and perceptions of this, like especially nowadays more than ever, we're force-fed 10 tons of stuff every minute of what to think and how to think and all those things.
Right.
And it really does suspend critical thinking.
Yes.
Makes it a lot more challenging.
Yes.
Even now, if something's presented to me, like a question I don't know, I might just Google it. I might ask ChatGPT. I'm not gonna really think about it and even get my own answer half the time. And that's, I don't know how good that is. So do you think it makes us more, knowing that we're not in an objective reality, does it make us more skeptical and distrustful of what we do see?
I don't know if you should be skeptical about it, because you're getting the information you need to survive.
Right.
But you also have to have the understanding of there's a whole hell of a lot going on that you're not perceiving.
Right. If you could say your perception, I'm perceiving something like, I'm perceiving that through the lens of my survivability and nothing else, then you could be dead on. But but I would agree, now that I think about everything or see everything, I'm like, I can only know what I can know, but I would submit that it might be one millionth of the actual objective reality.
Right.
So that's different. So your own personal view, when you think about your own daily experiences, like how real do they feel to you, and what convinces you of that?
How real do they feel to me?
Yeah.
Well, like I said before, if I'm perceiving something, then it's real.
Perception is reality. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and whether it's to somebody else that actually means anything, doesn't matter, because again, it's my perception. But then that also goes against, okay, now you're just going back to the individual. Everyone's an individual, and other people aren't perceiving what you're perceiving because you're just an individual. Where that could just be, again, your survival instinct of, hey, I'm perceiving this because I need to, otherwise my survivability is not is going to start to unravel.
Right. And I do think too, because as a species we're built on this survival mode and survival lens of looking through things, I think because we all basically have that in common, that there are some baseline realities that can be drawn, or at least some assumptions that can be made that are workable. Like, we all, there's a lot of car accidents, but miraculously not as many as there should be, really, given all the various drivers, automobile types, speeds, etc. Right? And communication, we all can talk on phones, and so there is some baseline there. Is there any one experience, we'll leave it, this will be the last question, is there any one experience that really made you question what's real?
I think you and I have talked about this before, but like when synchronicity happens.
Which is what? What is synchronicity?
For example, like, you're sitting there and you're thinking about, maybe someone that you loved who passed away, and all of a sudden you see a license plate right after there that said maybe some saying that they used to say.
Right, that was very specific.
Right, and then you're like, okay, well, maybe I saw the license plate before, I was actually thinking about this, and that's why it happened. But then you get something else, 5 minutes later, that's like, oh, shit,
Turn on the radio and it says their
Yeah.
name or something.
And a lot of times when that happens, you can be like, okay, well, am I just looking for it now, and now I'm just matrixing things to fit into this category?
Right.
But there's sometimes when stuff like that happens where you just have to be like, this is just too weird. So I think there has to be something driving that behind the scenes that we are not seeing.
Yeah, and I have my one clear example on this that you and I actually talked about some videos ago, which I'll make sure that I post on here because it's ridiculous. And I am very much sort of skeptical of this whole concept, but this thing was so profound that it blew me away and I had to make a video on it. So anyways, Dave, thanks for the interview. Appreciate it.